Of all the videos that I'm going to be doing in this series, this is the one in which I changed the least amount of shit and will be the least critical of Bungie. Now, over the course of the prior 7 videos, as well as the final ones coming, my concept has been to revamp the game top to bottom, from the story to leveling up to the guns, and eventually the raiding video, which is going to be next in the series. Everything requires significant changes with my ideas, but the enemies that Bungie created are for the most part on point. They're not perfect, but overall, it's one of the few items that Destiny does well. And don't get me wrong, there's some criticism towards the intelligence of the AI, the models that they use, the variety they have, and obviously the missing lore, but let me lay out some of the groundwork when it comes to this video first. As far as their story and background, I'm not discussing that here. I already mentioned in the second video that each enemy should have gotten its own Origins DLC that explains their own destiny and what they are. We know the story is missing and their connection to the story is completely absent, but that's not what this video is about. This video is going to focus on the variety, mechanics, and expansion of how the enemies behave. Now, what Bungie sort of got right is that each enemy at least seems unique. They're all somewhat different in behavior, certainly different in appearance, and different in where they occupy, as each enemy is supposed to be a unique opponent for you to fight. The Fallen are the most closely resemble human characters, Hive are your zombie sort of characters and shit like that, Vex are the machines, and the Cabal are giant space turtles or something. Each faction has a few different enemies so that you're fighting a number of different AI types. However, when you compare them side by side, when you really look at the AI's programming and how it deals with you, there are some flaws. Let's start with the attack types. Each enemy has your basic fodder that you kill because they're the low-level crap. Dregs for Fallen, Acolytes for Hive, Goblins for the Vex, Legionnaires for the Cabal. There are Snipers and Vandals and Hobgoblins. There are swarm enemies that attack you in bulk, like Shanks, Thralls, and Harpies. You have big motherfuckers that take a beating, like the Minotaurs, the Centurions, the Knights. Mini-bosses like Ogres, Hydras, the Colossus. You have melee characters like the Vandals, Captains, Knights, and Thralls. And some shot spammers like the Wizards and Servitors and the Colossus. So our typical enemy types are all covered. Our standard enemies that you see in games are covered, and each faction does have a character or two that the other does not have. But motherfucker, I want more, man. A lot more, because I think Destiny is just starting to scratch the surface on the potential when it comes to enemies. And I'm sure Bungie could just throw in a few extra enemies and whatnot. Chances would just be a reskin shit that we've seen before. But I don't just want new enemies. I want new mechanics that come with new enemies. Because really, who gives a fuck if you give us a female captain or another goddamn Vex robot? I can still shoot the shits, so I want something better. I want enemies that alter how we play the game. So let's go through these one by one. The Fallen has some of the best variety of enemies in the game, especially when you include the Walkers as one of their enemies. They have invisibility, snipers, melee characters, teleporting, but I would add one additional character for them. I want a much larger melee-based meat sponge of an enemy. Think of something the size of a Minotaur that charges you at full speed and pounds the fucking shit out of you. Now, of course, he would be extremely fast and take an extra amount of bullet damage just to kill the motherfucker. So I want him different than a knight that you would see out of the Hive. But I think the best comparison that I can think of would be the character from Mass Effect 3 called the Brute. One of the bigger enemies when it came to the Reaper faction, and I want one that moves at speed that which the Brute charged at you. And anyone that played Mass Effect 3 knows that once that Brute started hauling ass, he was moving at warp speed to get a motherfucker. I want that at all times. I want them charging you at warp speed every single time. No breaks, no slowdown speeds. They are a constant enemy rushing you, trying to punch you in the motherfucker. Now, I know this might sound simple, but I want a new mechanic to use for him. Right now, we have a few enemies that charge you for melees, and the simplest way to avoid them is to jump or run away. If you get high enough, you could avoid a knight, you could avoid a phalanx. But with this guy, I want to give him the ability to jump and grab you out of the air. And if he does so, it will be an instant death. I told you, I'm not fucking around with these enemies. Let's just call this character for now Hulk. When Hulk charges you, your instinct will be to jump over him. However, he can actually jump as high as every single one of your characters. And if he catches you in the air, he will smash you down to the ground for a very cool looking death up in this motherfucker. Now, right off the bat, he's different from every other enemy in the game because of this. He has an ability we have not seen yet, in which you just can't jump over the motherfucker to avoid him. And because of that, I want something different for him. I want his weak spot to actually be his legs. Similar to how we have a Fallen Walker, the precision damage spot on him will be both his legs to prevent him from jumping or charging you. Once you knock out both of his legs, then he will not have the ability to jump, and then you can do damage to him. However, headshots will have no effect on him, similar to a Minotaur. So the only way to damage him will be to take out his legs and then shoot him in the body or the legs or whatever to finish off the kill. Now, the other thing that I like to see more of when it comes to the Fallen, and this is not just for public events, is vehicle riding Fallen. There are essentially 4 places in the game where you can get a vehicle. Earth and Venus have that pseudo-public event where the pikes come from and shit like that. The Moon has that first story mission where you can get pikes, and the Winter's Run Strike mission allows you to use pikes for a short time. To me, this is more of a content issue, but at the same time, it's part of what the Fallen use in the game. They should have more patrol areas where they're actually using their pikes, or missions where pikes are necessary, as opposed to the shit that I can skip in Winter's Run because my Sparrow rides past enemies a whole lot faster. In adding these vehicles, you basically give us more of a chance to actually use the motherfuckers. But I do want to see the Fallen use these shits more often. It's a weapon they have in their arsenal, so why not use it? Why not have them on a map in a specific section just using those fucking vehicles? To me, it's a perfect idea instead of just having a public event. They need to ride their vehicles more often. Now, moving on to the Hive, they have a pretty good mix as well, with the exception of a sniper. Personally, I would never add a sniper to the Hive because they feel more like alien zombies than coordinated attackers. They feel like a plague instead of an army, and I would keep that theme. Their enemy would also be a mini-boss, and I would call that monster a manticore. And if anyone Googles and wants to know what it is, you can just see what this mythological monster was in Persian culture. This would be a flying boss, almost similar to a wizard, except it flies much higher. Right now, wizards hover around and shit like that. But this one, I literally want to fly. The Manticore will have the ability to paralyze your powers. If the Manticore hits you with an attack, it will disable your supers, grenades, double jumps, and melee abilities. It will have some damage attacks as well, but the concept of this character is to be used in a group of Hive to disable your ability to fight back. Just think about this for a second. How would you deal with the combo of a mob of thralls and a Manticore if it's disabling all your powers? You can't grenade the motherfucker, you can't double jump, you can't melee the shits. You better have an accurate shot on this son of a bitch. So basically, this is a support character, mainly there to fuck with all your abilities. Now, the second idea is more of a change to an existing enemy. Shriekers are fucking useless. They shoot purple balls at you, and they explode into full mode purple balls that can kill you, but ultimately they die fairly quickly. So I want that to change. Similar to how servitors power fallen enemies close by, I would give Shriekers the ability to cast shields on other Hive. When a Shrieker is active, all Hive will get extra shields for protection against you, basically forcing you to kill a Shrieker to first remove all their shields. At the very least, it gives them a purpose other than being a flying blob of bullshit. Next on my list is the Vex, and I have a few changes and probably the most overall to any of the classes. First new enemy is a Basilisk, and yes, Harry Potter fans, it was a creature well before that lightning head motherfucker was ever created. Basilisks are known for freezing enemies, so how about similar to what the Manticore does with powers, it will do so to guns. The Basilisk will be a faster moving Vex, and it will fire its shot from its eyes instead of a weapon. And anytime it hits you, your gun will not fire for 3 seconds. And that's on top of the damage it actually does with its attacks. Now, the second enemy is more of an actual boss. Similar to a Hydra and can be scaled in size, I would call this motherfucker a Chimera. Essentially, the enemy has 3 attacks: Solar, Void, and Arc. Its Solar attack will hit you and continue to do burn damage over time, reducing your health basically down to nothing if you get hit by it too many times. The Void damage attack will lower your super energy every time it hits you. So, you could have a super, then all of a sudden this shit nails you and you could lose your potential super, or you could lose at least half the energy, whatever the fuck it is. Basically, it's going to lower your super energy every time it hits you. The final attack is arc damage, and this one will slow you down considerably. Think of the Weight of Darkness that we get right now in Crota's End Raid. And this will last a good 5 seconds or so. Realistically, this sounds more like a boss fight than your average enemy. However, I want the Chimera in the game. This sounds like a motherfucker that would tear your ass up. Now, the final character for the Vex is called the Scathe, and this is probably the most annoying enemy of the group. The Vex travel through time, so they teleport all the time. However, they usually don't teleport far and only do it every now and then. The Scathe is the ultimate time-traveling motherfucker, constantly teleporting to different parts of the map, hitting you. Unlike the other Vex, which teleport and then walk towards you, allowing you to shoot them, the Scathe will be teleporting every 2 seconds it's in combat and taking pop shots at you as soon as it lands. Basically, you have to figure out where this motherfucker's going, otherwise he's going to continuously shoot or melee you. Personally, I think this idea could have been done with all of the Vex characters, but this will work with the one character that I want to add to their arsenal. Now, the Cabal gets the final changes and some of the most drastic ones. First of all, for a species so fixed on war with structure and commands, how come they don't have a true sniper? I mean, think about it. They have railgun motherfucker with rockets. They have a regular rocket launcher, but no sniper for a military unit? Come on, man. I would change that and add a sniper to the mix and call it the Sagittari. Since the Cabal used their terminology from Roman Empire units, the Sagittari were the archers of the military. So, I would use that in this game. Now, oddly enough, Praetorians are also Roman Empire soldiers, but they ended up with the Vex. But in any event, I'm not going to get into Roman history and shit like that. I don't want to make them just an easy target. No. Fuck that. The Sagittari will only be located on parts of the map that Guardians cannot reach, such as high up on buildings, in the out-of-bound territories, or background areas of story missions which a Guardian cannot get to. You can only shoot them or snipe them yourself, but you will never get close enough to actually kill them with a melee or a shotgun. These enemies are not meant to be up-close fighters. They are meant to be the distance fighters, and they are not meant to be on the maps. You will never see them up close. The only thing that you will see up close is their sniper bullet busting you in the fucking head. Basically, this gives you a reason to have to always use your sniper rifle in this motherfucker. Now, the next enemy on my list is called Clinicus, and this is a 100% support role. Clinicus does exactly what it sounds like. He heals enemies. With a Clinicus in the area, similar to Scope and the Scion, they use powers to instantly heal the Cabal. You will not see them in combat. Matter of fact, they will do their best to avoid combat, sticking behind cover, only healing those in proximity. But basically, you will need to find a way to kill them in order to get to the Cabal. Now, think about this for a second. Let's say you have a Colossus shooting you down, and right behind him is a Clinicus healing him. You're going to have a hard choice. Do I go after the Colossus, having him keep healing himself, or do I go after the motherfucker that's doing all the work healing this bastard? Yeah, that's the choice you're going to have when it comes to killing this guy. He's not exactly a mobile infantry unit. He's not going to hurt you, but he's going to be a pain in the ass once you see him on the battlefield. Now, the third and final new enemy is called the Venator, and he's going to be your stealth attack soldier. You know, similar to Vandals, they could go invisible. And part of that is the Cabal have really no space magic. Come on, man. At least with an invisible enemy, they can either shoot you or melee you. So now, adding this motherfucker to their group adds a little bit of space magic to help them along. Now, the final change that I want for the Cabal is that they should ride the Interceptors more often. Similar to the Pikes with the Fallen, if you have a vehicle, use it. The Interceptor is a Cabal vehicle, yet for some reason it ended up on the moon in the Crucible or whatever the fuck. I ain't gonna get into that shit. But at no point do the Cabal ever ride it in the game. Shit, if you built it, the fuck you doing letting it just sit there in storage? It's just collecting dust, motherfucker, so use the damn thing. Make it a public event or whatever the fuck, but do something with the damn vehicle. I want to fight an Interceptor. I want to take that shit from a Cabal and use it on his fucking friends. Now, after all these enemies are added to the game, I still think there's some work left to be done with the AI. To me, the Hive are the only ones that feel on point. Zombie thralls running directly at you, attacking you. Acolytes are not as powerful as knights, so they take cover more often. Wizards spam those fucking balls of magic that work to all hell, and everything else needs a little bit of help in this fucking game. For starters, with the Fallen, captains are chicken shits. They hide anytime someone shoots at them, teleport out of danger, and only attack you when they have swords in their hand. I think they need to be much more aggressive in attacking, especially shielded captains. I think the invisible Vandals should surround you instead of 4 of them running directly at you. Right now, they look like a fucking parade, running 3 to 4 invisible Vandals in the same direction right at you. If this game had them attack in different directions, that would be better. But right now, they run directly at you like a trail of picnic ants, making them easy to spot and kill. The Vex desperately need help. As I said with the Scathe, they do not teleport or time travel at all. While I would certainly enjoy the Vex invading Earth for a new enemy or some shit like that, I would at least settle for a more aggressive enemy. Something that moves at me quicker or spawns into the map right on me. But right now, since they spawn into maps in the same fucking location every single time, it makes it so much easier. Randomizing the spawns ups the challenge significantly, especially if a Minotaur spawns on your ass. Oh, imagine the fucking hell that bitch can cause. That's what I want to see from the Vex. Now, with the Cabal, they sure look intimidating, right? I mean, they're bigger than you. They have badass music in their intro with them hopping around all in unison. It's a pretty cool scene when you first see the motherfucker, until you play against them and you realize their heads are squishy and they don't actually jump and attack you. They don't actually charge you. They jump, but at no point do they jump at you. Mainly, they jump around like this is a House of Pain video up in this motherfucker. Jump around. Jump around. No, I would change that shit. I would have it so that the Cabal are trying to land on you, which essentially kills you. Because think about it, this would be like Mario stomping a Goomba. An 800-pound space turtle is gonna fucking hurt if it lands on your head, and that would be fucking hilarious. But it at least adds a level of aggression that they don't have right now. Now, the absolute final thing that I would add to enemies is animals or monsters in the maps. You know, right now it's just filled with the enemies that we actually shoot in the fucking game. But I think the game needs to add violent animals or monsters. All we have are birds that fly off when you get close to them. We have armor that alludes to dragons, giant spider webs in the Hellmouth, and we ain't found shit. We need wild animals. And I'm not talking going all out like The Witcher or Dragonings or some shit like that. But motherfucker, you tell us they're dragons, yet at no point do we remotely have anything close to a fucking dragon. I think we need animals. Large-scale bosses like a dragon or a big fucking spider or a scorpion, or the smaller ones that enemy types to try and kill like bears or other mutated animals for the future. Oh, motherfucker, there's so much potential in just having animals in this fucking game. You know, the Fallen and Hive would attack the patrol animals as well. And that would be another addition to the game that makes the worlds feel a bit more alive than the dead-ass spaces that we have right now. The animals could be in those transition areas from one part of the map to the other. You know, like going from the Moth Yard to the Forgotten Shore and whatnot. You know, that long-ass section with just cliffs and shit and waterfalls? Yeah, there'd be some fucking animals in there. And now that area won't feel as abandoned as it does now. Overall, the enemies do not need an overhaul like some of the other aspects of the game, but a little help is still necessary. They need a couple more ideas, they need a couple more mechanics, they need a good kick in the ass when it comes to their aggression level, and then you would have the perfect product when it comes to enemy AI and shit like that. Overall, this is not a big change. It's a very simple change when it comes to DLC, but again, DLC to this fucking company, oh man, don't even get me started on the fucking expansion packs. I do have a DLC video coming up in the BluePrint series in the future, but for now, this video is coming to an end. But before I close, I do have some two housekeeping issues that I want to get to. First of all, tomorrow will be the live stream event between Prestige Gamers and the YouTube team. The YouTube team still needs a couple more alternates, so for those of you still interested, you have plenty of time to go sign up. But the event starts tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp. Tune in, you get to see me run the Vault of Glass and Crota's End. The second thing, next week we're taking a break from the BluePrint series. All next week, we're going to be running 4 Hipfire commentary videos and 1 Call of Duty video for you. So 5 videos next week, which will give me a nice little break from Destiny videos. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit. And I'll see you guys in the next video.